What up, fam? This is Dr. DeLuna. You are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. And today we are going to be talking all about itchy bum bums. Did you know that Selena was actually singing about parasites making your booty itch? If you didn't, you're going to want to watch this episode because we're diving all into Parasitos. Familia, this conversation is long overdue. I think that you all know how much I love to talk about shit. For better or for worse, I love talking about shit. And something that has been brought to my awareness probably over the last 2 years at this point is that we are all filled with worms. We are all filled with worms. Why? Because they're in our environment. They just exist out there. No, I'm really not trying to freak you out as if I'm making this up and this is a sci-fi film. This is true. How can you get parasites, you ask? An endless amount of ways. Basically, how I coexist with this world is just perfect to pick up 1, 2, 50, 8,000 parasites. So parasites actually live in our soil. They live in our environment. So if you're someone that has ever been a farmer or has ever walked barefoot on soil, which I hope you have because grounding is quite nice, it's possible that these little wormies have gone through your skin and entered your body. If you've ever swallowed contaminated water, if you've ever inhaled contaminated water or swam in it, showered in it, if you love animals as much as I do, cats, dogs, they sleep in your bed, you probably have a parasite. If you love sushi, let's be real, fishermen. If you love sushi, have you ever seen a worm in a raw fish? Because they're filled with them. And know that when you swallow these worms, they can be within your body, they can seed, they can take hold, and they can truly travel throughout your body. I went down a wormhole today on YouTube of worm videos, and let's just say it's quite fucking disturbing. But in my medical practice, I see it all the time. And truly what I see can be an array of signs and symptoms that for me, I'm like, is there a parasito? Is there one or is there many? So many things can show up as parasites, but before I even get into the specifics of these symptoms, I know some of you are going to be like, doctor, you're full of shit. Why are you listing every possible symptom in the body and saying that it could be due to a parasite? Just pause right there, honey. And what I am truly saying is that parasites and the symptoms that they are creating usually have a very, very, very clear timing to them, which is that light bulb in my head as your doctor is saying, there might be one. And truly this timing is with the full moon. No, I didn't plan this. Did you know that I changed my name to Dr. DeLuna based on parasites? Just kidding. But around the full moon, what happens is that your brain and your eyes are always taking in the amount of light going in, and it is altering your hormone production in your brain. And when we have a full moon, we don't have as much light coming in, or just kidding, we have a lot of light coming into our eyes. So what will happen is that your body makes less melatonin. Have you ever noticed that around a full moon, you feel like a werewolf? You might not be able to sleep that well. You might feel a little crazy. This is truly because you have less melatonin. What happens is that melatonin actually has the same precursor as serotonin. So what's going on at this time is that you have more serotonin. Serotonin makes worms wiggle. It makes them wiggle their little slimy bodies throughout your body. So, did you have an itchy butt at the full moon? We can't deny this, right? Please don't sit there and act like you don't have an itchy butt if you do. It's gross and it's common. And if you're a parent and if you see your kid like scratching deep in their ass, I can almost promise you there's a parasite there. Or there's like poop in their pants, right? But it's probably a parasite. So, all of these symptoms, yes, you might experience them, but if they get louder around the full moon, I want you to think of these swimming little willies just nibbling up your serotonin, moving around your body and causing symptoms. So, of course, I talked about an itchy butt, right? So that's top of the list. If you have an itchy butt, honestly, I would just go ahead and cleanse yourself of parasites because there's something in there that should not be in there, just saying. Other things that you can get are a lot of histamine-like symptoms. So allergic symptoms, if you have severe allergies and if you eat fish all day and if you eat pork all day and are a farmer, know that your allergies, if you didn't have them your whole life, they're probably due to an increased histamine reaction due to parasites. I kid you not. So allergic symptoms, in case you're not aware, if you've never had an allergy or never had a really sniffly brother, what happens is that you produce a lot of mucus. So you're full of mucus, your nose is runny, your eyes are red and itchy, and you can even break out in hives. You can have eczema. Eczema is very aligned with allergies, as is asthma. So you can see there that those are very common things, right, that people experience. And oftentimes conventional medicine will say, oh yeah, that's normal. Just take this Claritin for the rest of your life. Take Benadryl every time you have allergies. But what if you have allergies every day? It's probably from an internal response, right? So that's a huge one that I see. And while we're touching upon skin, know that eczema is just one of the many skin presentations that I see. You could have chronic yeast infections. You could have chronic rashes. You could have just different things show up on your skin that don't necessarily make sense. And as a reminder, if they flare around the full moon, probably a parasite. You can also get chronic sinus infections. I kid you not. A worm can be in your nose. It really could be. It could be fucking huge even. So your nose has sinuses in it that are these cavities, these caverns, and things can get stuck in there, which is why it's really easy to get a sinus infection because it can fill up with mucus, things can stay in there, they can really just create this beautiful environment for fermentation and all sorts of microbial growth. But parasites can absolutely get stuck in the sinus cavities and lead to chronic sinusitis, chronic nasal congestion, and it seems like everything that you do, it's not going away. These people usually tell me, yeah, my nose is just constantly clogged. I actually can't breathe in my nose, and wonder what's up there. Rinse it out, see if a wormy comes out. Who's to say? Might be fun. Other things that can show up with parasites. Of course, a huge place that they live is in their digestive system. So some people, when they have parasites, they can have inflammation that will result in diarrhea. Things kind of flush, things are loose, things are mushy. If you've never had a solid poop after you traveled somewhere, just take a moment and step back, reflect on that trip. You probably have a creature inside of you. If you're like me, traveled to Southeast Asia, got so sick that you thought you were gonna die, and then did absolutely nothing about it, just waited for your immune system to bring you back to life, congratulations, you're just as dumb as I am, and you probably have a parasite. No biggie. You just figure it out a couple years later when you lose weight and, all sorts of other stuff. So any gut issue, some people will be flushing things, their poop will be weird ongoing. Some people, when their intestines are inflamed, they tighten, they constrict, and you'll be constipated. So any of those will happen. This goes without saying, I hope, my sweet familia, if you see a long cylindrical something in your stool, you probably have a parasite. I can't even tell you how many people send me pictures of their pooping? Is that an undigested piece of spaghetti? No, it's not an undigested piece of spaghetti. You should not be passing things that look like worms. Just straight up, you shouldn't be. Your digestive system is too smart. And I hope you're chewing your food, right? You're not just swallowing spaghetti. If you are, that's a whole other issue we got to talk about. You really need to chew that. So that's a lot of the gut stuff, but really IBS, IBD, and just irritated abdomen can absolutely show up. And if you notice that it's around the full moon where things just don't sit right, again, I'm going to keep reminding you that is a telltale sign. I see a lot of mental health stuff come up with parasites because I'm going to have a full episode on this. Parasites and infections can get into the brain, and they are so smart. They are so smart, these creatures. I'm not even sure if you have dropped in to become aware that the creatures within you are controlling a lot of your motivation because they're tricking your mind into feeding them. So sugar cravings is huge, especially if your sugar cravings are insane around the full moon. You just think it's because you're going to get your period or something. It's probably not. It's because the wormies came out their hiding place and they are so hungry and they want you to feed them. And guess what you do? You feed them. And it's great. And then your butt gets itchy and you're like, no big deal. I'll just use a wet wipe. But no, it's not going to get the wormy out. Promise you it won't. So mental health concerns can show up as severe anxiety around the full moon. It could show up as depression, insomnia, different types of trauma responses can show up. And truly it's because there's something inside of your body that should not be there. So your immune system ramps up, your autonomic nervous system will ramp up again. When they are replicating, you'll have more of these symptoms and they're replicating around the full moon. I also see a lot of nutrient deficiencies because the way I visualize these little critters is they have this little sucker mouse. They got this sucker mouse and they're just sucked to your intestines. So that's actually how you absorb your food, through this intestinal lining. So if there's a little sucker mouth there, it's going to limit your ability to digest and absorb your food. So a lot of different nutrient deficiencies can show up. It's actually hilarious because my friends used to joke to me growing up because I still can eat more than you. Whoever's watching this, I can eat more than you. And if you don't believe me, please challenge me in an eating competition. I would love to beat you. But people used to joke to me growing up hey, you probably have a parasite. I am blessed that my family traveled throughout the world. We did. We ate all the food, all the things, drank the water, swam and everything. I honestly probably got a parasite when I was little. It was very hard for me to gain weight. I've always been small, but I did look malnourished for a while, despite how many pizzas I would eat. Can't eat enough pizza to kill a parasite. You're only feeding it. So different nutrient deficiencies can show up, especially if you're someone that is very health conscious. You get your labs done and you're always iron deficient, or you're always ferritin deficient. Ferritin is the storage form of iron. And if your body is having difficulty absorbing iron in your gut and storing it, that is a classic telltale sign for me that you might have parasites. So I want you to look out for that. If you get your labs tested and your B12 is always low, that could be from a parasite. And if you are nutrient deficient, you're not going to be able to show up to life well. So you're going to be fatigued, you're going to have brain fog, you're going to feel inflamed. Speaking of inflammation, truly, these creepy crawlers can creepily crawl themselves anywhere they want. They are smart. And one of the places that they can crawl is in your liver. They can actually, there's something called a liver fluke that can go in between the drainage of your liver to your gallbladder to back things up. And your liver is draining all fat-soluble toxins into the gallbladder so that you can poop them out. So if that drain is blocked, liver stuff can show up. Liver stuff, your liver, in case you didn't know this, it's incredibly important, and it's sitting in the right upper quadrant of your abdomen. So if you have right upper quadrant abdominal pain, or if you turn green or yellow, that's a sign that your liver is pretty upset with you. You could have a liver fluke in there. I see them all the time. When you poop them out, it looks like a little tomato skin. I'm not kidding. If you pooped out a tomato skin, and if you're not eating a tomato, that really could be a liver fluke. No shit. Literally, no shit. So many things can show up as parasitic infections. So a big one is what they do to the muscles, because these parasites can crawl, they can creep. And let me actually just pause and say that there's intracellular parasites that are small, and there are extracellular macroscopic big daddies. These big daddies are huge. They actually look like snakes exiting your body, who's to say? But these little crypty crawlers, they can move throughout your body. They can actually deposit in joints. So if you, again, I'm just using this example, if you travel to Southeast Asia, got the worst food poisoning of your life, then came back from your trip and all of a sudden your muscles hurt, your joints hurt, you don't know why this is happening, it could truly be because parasites are leading to this inflammation in your joint space. Same with muscle pain. A lot of parasites can live in muscles, and that's actually how we can eat them, in like pork flesh and in fish flesh. It's because that's where the parasites are living. So muscle pain, muscle twitching, stuff like that. A lot of teeth grinding. This is my favorite. When on my new patient paperwork, people are like, yeah, I just grind my teeth. It's no big deal. I have a mouth guard. I'm like, well, when you grind their teeth, they're like, it's so weird. It's only around the full moon. Those are the wormies. Those are the wormies making you clench your jaw, and they're motivating you to feed them sugar. So really, if you're someone that grinds your teeth, if your dentist has told you that, and if it's a new pattern, and even if it's a pattern that you've had when you were a child, I want to remind you that you could have them living inside of you for years until you kill them or until they fall out of your body. Yes, this is very, very, very true and mildly disturbing. If you've ever pooped out a parasite, you are aware of how mentally fucking that is. It's quite entertaining. So really, any of the symptoms that I mentioned, of course, there's an endless amount of things that can cause them, right? Endless amount of things. But if they are worse around the full moon, I want you to consider doing a parasite cleanse. And I do not recommend anything that I've not done myself. And I have done parasite cleansing extensively. And the only one that I really recommend is by Cellcore. I'm going to leave it in the comments here, the information. You could reach out and I will send you my code so that you can purchase this cleanse. But it will come with 4 different supplements that you're going to take around the full moon. The goal is that these supplements are going to kill the worms and then you're going to pass them. Know that you won't really know if you're passing them unless you break apart your poop. So I invite you, have a cute little chopstick in your bathroom. Only if you're taking these supplements, right? Or if not and you pass a worm, you got an issue. You got a huge issue. But you get your cute little choppy, you break up your poop. If there's a piece of spaghetti in there, you got what you're looking for. I didn't even mention that you could truly have worms in your womb. So ladies, check your blood. If you're bleeding out big chunky clots, break it apart. I can't even tell you how many humans I know have worms inside of their womb. I've got beautiful stories about nuns having pinworms crawl out of their cervix, all sorts of really fun stuff that I can share with you over dinner. We could talk about worms over dinner. It'll be great. So, fun fact, friends, If anything is flaring up around the full moon, truly just assume that you probably have a parasite. Know that most cultures around the world are so aware of this. Just here in the United States, we think that we're like clean and perfect. So we don't cleanse, but most cultures cleanse at least once a year and clear these buggies out. So I hope I freaked you out today. I hope you are disgusted. I hope you're a little nauseous because that means that this resonated with you and that you probably have a parasito. So if you want to freak anyone out, please share this. Share this podcast with them. Like this, subscribe, because I could talk about worms for years. So there's going to be more parasite information on here. But I think this was plenty for now to just really disgust you for the rest of the day. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to the next time I gross you out.